Let's get started here. So thank you everybody for coming tonight. My name is Dave Bennett. I'm the Public Works Director, City Engineer of the City of Northfield. I do want to introduce a few people that are here to assist and help out. Sean Simonson is our Engineering Manager. Sean is over here. We have Jacob Ives as our Graduate Engineer here. We also have Jason Malika. He is with Bolton and Mink. He's a Project Manager and leading kind of our 2026 project, so he'll be out in the cafeteria after to answer your questions related to that. We also have Ben Mardig, our city administrator, is here, and Dennis Luby is here with Rice County Highway, so if you have any Rice County questions, he'll be here to answer those questions for you. We also have a couple, I think Mayor's Weifel, I thought, was here. Oh, and Councilor Ness is also here. So just want to welcome everybody. Oh, Councilor Holmes there. Just a little overview of the presentation. So we're going to really focus the first part of the presentation on really a safe roadway network, talk about what the city's been doing, kind of why we're doing it, and then we'll move kind of into what's planned in the next 5 years, how we, really the purpose of this meeting is to hear feedback from you. We'll go out into the cafeteria after the presentation and we'll be at stations and we'll answer any questions that you have or collect input on projects. We'll talk a little bit too about kind of how decisions are made on what projects get programmed into our capital improvement plan and what we look at related to planning over the next 5 years. Just again, we're not going to hold a Q&A session at the end of this. We'll do that all out in the cafeteria. This next one, we're going to have a short video that talks a little bit about safety on our roadway network.
900 crashes in the last 10 years, 28 of them serious or fatal. We don't count the lives we save. We count the ones we couldn't. That's the primary reason why we invest in our streets, our bike lanes, and our pedestrian pathways. The more integrated we make our transportation network, the more effective we are at protecting our families, neighbors, and visitors. What kind of city do you want to live in? One where kids can bike to school? Where older adults feel safe crossing the street? Where drivers, walkers, and bikers all move safely? That's the goal. A safe and welcoming Northfield for everyone. And how we plan and build our streets is a big part of making that happen. Northfield bases our complete streets designs on the best practices from state, national, and other partner organizations. All agencies share at least one approach: layering safety measures to prevent fatalities and serious injuries. That includes safe vehicles, how safe you drive, road conditions and design, and the speed you travel. Lower speeds and smarter street designs reduce crashes and save lives. Because people make mistakes, our streets should be built to forgive them. And good design goes beyond safety. Complete streets can reduce flooding, improve water quality in the Cannon River, and even cool down our neighborhoods. The quality of our infrastructure has a direct impact on the economic development of our community. That's why our streets are one of the top priorities in every annual budget. Streets touch safety, quality of life, environmental sustainability, and responsible economic stewardship. There are many factors to consider when prioritizing street projects. Thank you for sharing your input and being part of the decision-making process that will impact our community for decades to come. Together, we're building a safer, more connected Northfield.
So I do want to kind of jump back to a few of the highlights of that video. I think it's important to really understand what's going on in the state with crashes. Obviously, statewide, over 18,000 crashes of serious and fatals. That's not just all the crashes in general. And then as we think about more localized our community, we go into Rice County. 10 years, Rice County's had almost 8,000 crashes. 253 of those serious and fatal. So those are life-changing, serious injuries that can really impact somebody's lives. Locally in Northfield, we've had over 900 crashes, 28 of them serious and fatal. So if we think about the serious and fatals, we're averaging 3 of those per year in our community. And then when you kind of peel the onion a little bit more and you think about people walking and biking around in our community, we've had 28 pedestrian accidents, 21 bike accidents, so we're averaging about 5 per year accidents in our community with bike and pedestrians. So that's why when we think about our improvement projects, we're doing things differently and really taking a safe system approach as we move forward. And including this year, we've already had 1 fatality on a bike on our roadways in the community. Just a little bit more on the crash data. When you look at the serious and fatals, and then you think about what is it, what's causing it, and then you look at the pie chart, 1/3 of our serious accidents are with pedestrian and bikes in our community. So there is a more of a focus on how do we make sure we are doing the right things for safety. We want safety for motorists, but we want the safety for the other roadway users, because the data is showing that we have an issue and we're having crashes and serious concerns on our roadways. I think one thing that just in general about the community, and I think it came out of when we did the 2021 Park and Rec Capital Investment Plan, kind of like the highest rated activity in the community is really walking and biking around. So we have a very active community. They want to be connected to the parks and to the system, and walking and biking was one of the highest rated activities as part of our park study. Again, we're looking at a model of more complete streets, whether it's related to water quality, planting more trees, putting in facilities to improve water quality so our river health improves. We're also looking at pedestrian and bikes and facilities. How do we bring those together? We're following our plans, so we want to use the latest and greatest engineering standards, design standards, what's going on in the industry to make sure that, we're at that and we're leading in terms of safety for our community. You've seen some of these projects have been implemented. You've seen narrowing of the roadways. You've seen shortening crossing distance for pedestrians. We've been marking pedestrian crossings. We've installed the flashing beacons where the pedestrian walks up and hits the beacon. We've been separating the vehicles from the bikes to improve the safety of the bikes on the roadway, in addition to operational and functional changes with the mini roundabout at Jefferson Parkway and Jefferson Road, and improving pedestrians and bikes at that intersection. So really just we're trying to get a lot of different type of improvements, really focusing on the vulnerable users of the roadway as we're looking out into the next 5 years in terms of our planning, along with making sure that we are keeping up with our infrastructure. I think one of the things that comes up a lot of times when you go look to implement either a new sidewalk or new bikeway is people aren't going to use it, knows what it is riding out there. So we went out in 2023 before we implemented our bikeways, and we did before counts on the roadways. And we've seen post-project, when you build the facilities, we've seen tremendous growth in the biking on our roadways. So we know that more people are out and using those facilities. Once they're built, protected, all ages, more people can get into there. So we're really trying to build, we call it AAA, all ages and ability facilities. I think when we think of our network connectivity, we want them to be consistent, complete, and connected. So we want the 3 C's. I think that's what we've heard from the public. So we're trying to also implement that so we don't have you're on one street on a certain type of bikeway, then you get to the next intersection and you're jogging to a different type of bikeway. So we want consistency, and we want to get the network built out and be completed. Now, the challenge with getting it all completed at once is certainly there's a cost to do that. So, segment gets built over time as the network gets improved. I think there's one story that I just want to share related to more of a project that I've been here about 10 years. That happened early when I started here. I got a voicemail from a resident. He called to thank me for putting in the sidewalk along a roadway because he sees tons of families and kids out there using it. But he wanted to apologize for being so opposed to it during the project development and when the sidewalk was coming in. As we transition now, we'll move into what's planned for the next 5 years in the community for improvement projects. We have a short video here to start that out.
Ever wonder why some streets get fixed and others don't? Let's break it down. Northfield maintains 78 miles of streets. Each year, the city chooses which ones to repair or rebuild based on condition, safety, and cost. From the first sketch to final construction, every transportation project follows a process, and you have a voice in that process. The earlier you speak up, the more you shape what gets built. Right now, projects planned for 2027 through 2030 are in early planning, where public input has the most direct power. We take input from our taxpayers very seriously. While we recognize that Northfield residents do not speak with one monolithic voice, we do our best to take into account the various perspectives of our citizens and then weigh our ultimate decisions based upon all of the pertinent variables. Maintenance happens in 3 main ways: mill and overlay. One new asphalt layer costs about 25% of full reconstruction and lasts 15 to 20 years. Reclamation, grinding and rebuilding with 2 layers, costs 50 to 60% of full reconstruction and lasts 25 to 35 years. Reconstruction, a full rebuild, costs around $8 million per mile, but lasts 50 to 60 years. The worse a street gets, the more expensive it is to fix. That's why early maintenance saves money and headaches. Where's the money come from? Mostly property taxes, some from the gas tax, state grants, and franchise fees. Sometimes the city borrows money through bonding to fund big projects. The best time to speak up is now, when projects are still in the capital improvement plan stage. Maintaining our streets isn't just about pavement. It's about people, safety, and planning for the future. We want your help in shaping the future of Northfield, which is strongly influenced by shaping the future of Northfield streets. Please join us on a continuing basis and stay engaged, because much like maintaining our streets, having input on infrastructure projects doesn't have a one-time fix. Impacting a project requires continual engagement, feedback, revision, and collaboration. So stay engaged and help each other build a more connected Northfield.
So when we get into planning our project, I think I'd just maybe start at the highest level. So we think we really are focused on safety. So when we're building out our 5-year plan, we're thinking about safety, what changes should be on the horizon, and what we're looking at. The other one is, a big one is, what's our infrastructure condition? So we have a pavement condition index for the entire city. We have a vehicle that goes out and drives and records all the cracks and gives us an overall network score. We're doing good. We're at about a 75 for our overall network. But we do have some bad streets, and we want to make sure that that small percentage of bad streets also doesn't increase too. So that's why we use different type of projects: reconstruction, reclamation, mill and overlay, because some of those streets that are in the worst condition are beyond mill and overlay, even though it costs so much less to do those type of projects, but they're just not at that point and where they are at in terms of their life. And I think This is our second year of this town hall. I think our goal is to try to get more earlier input from the community. So when we're up in the cafeteria, we want to hear your thoughts on projects. If you have thoughts on where things are not feeling safe in the community, things that we should look at, and that we want that input so we can help shape what happens in the community over the next 5 years. And ultimately, the capital plan is really driven by the budget and the funds available and what we can do, and a lot of that does tie back through the tax levy. So I'm going to get into the next 5-year plan, but really nothing has been added. Even though we have 2030, nothing's been added to our plan. Our program has been stretched out just due to kind of the tax levy. We have other, not just streets that we have to take care of. We have parks, we have facilities, and we have other buildings too. So. Just a little bit on the timeline. So the 2025 project, I'll highlight that, but that's almost actually complete. That's under construction. The 2026 project, just to kind of we're starting the year before all the plans get done, so we're out bidding in the winter time. So we're ready to go when it's time to construct next season. So council's going to be looking at approval of the feasibility report for the overlay at their August 4th council meeting. And that will really set us on the way for the final design on that project. And then the 27 to 2030 is really open for discussion. We'll share what's in the program over the next 5 years. This is another graph I think I just want to illustrate. So when we build our plan, it kind of starts with our comprehensive plan, our transportation plan, our walking and biking network plan. And we're looking at all those documents to help shape and scope the improvements. And we also have our comprehensive sewer plan, our comprehensive water plan. So we are checking those against what's happening with the road projects. What are the condition of our utilities? Sometimes the utilities could drive a project just based on their condition. We do know that we have lead services in our community. We do know that those need to be removed. We're trying to secure grants for those, but some of those will potentially drive some street projects. So this kind of illustrates everything. Some of the stuff's not constructed right now, but I just want to highlight a few things. So in 2023, we did a Lincoln Parkway corridor study, and we also looked at Dresden Avenue. So we went through that process. We kind of know what the vision is for the improvements there. It's in multiple phases. We did apply for a grant to improve that corridor. We were unsuccessful. So that project, either of those, are not currently in the 5-year program. The other one is 246, the highway with the state. So we went through and did a study because the state's talked about wanting to get that roadway off their system. So we have a plan of what we believe that corridor is going to look like. The state legislature in the most recent session authorized the turnback of that roadway. So we are currently working with the state on that formal agreement, and that'll be hopefully coming to council here later this fall for approval. And one of the things that kind of is tied to that, so we have the Reimagine, the high school project going on. They're going to be doing some site work with that project on the corridor study for 246. There's a mini roundabout at the entrance. So, that project at the high school is multiple years, but our goal would be to try to time it when they're getting to their site improvements, probably 2028, to make sure that if we get the turnback approved, that we're coordinating with construction around that timeline. Quickly on 2025, so Industrial Drive is over by Post Cardinal Glass. That's been paved now. That's done this year's project. Laurel Court, kind of the entry into Seckler Park. There's just a little bit of trail work left, but that's been paved, maybe some restoration, so that is wrapping up. Over by the soccer complex, Maple Street, that's a mill and overlay. We have a raised pedestrian crossing. That's what this circle is here, and then we have another improved crossing on Superior. So that project should be probably wrapping up in the next few weeks, but is under construction at this time. (2026), so this is the project that I discussed that council will be approving the feasibility report on. So this is the Jefferson Parkway Mill and Overlay, really from the roundabout at 246 all the way out to Spring Creek Road. Along with that, the red line is Milltown State Trail, so we'll be building that segment with that project. We built the first segment in 2024. We'll be starting from Woodley Street to Waterford Bridge here. That construction for that segment of the state trail will start end of August, early September, and it'll finish next year. And then this segment would close the gap, so that we'd have the entire segment built in 2026 for the state trail, and the city received over $8 million from the state to get that built, and the city's also contributing local dollars to make that project a reality. The yellow dots on the plan are crossing improvements. So we did a study with Alta, so they're kind of one of the leaders in walking and biking, and they really looked at origin, destination, and they highlighted about, 40 to 50 intersections that should be looked at for crossing improvements. Some of those are on Jefferson Parkway, and we're doing those. And then as we get closer to the project and through this engagement, a lot of times what happens is we hear more concerns from the public, so we've added more crossings, so there's probably more that are out there that potentially need to be improved. But that's one of the things that's in our planning documents, we're incorporating into our projects, and then when we're doing our engagement and facilitation, we're hearing about more areas to look at, and some of those are also getting added into the projects. The blue line is a segment of sidewalk to fill in the gap. There's a future sidewalk on Leah Drive. We do have our walking and biking network map out there too, so it's not all streets, it's not every street's gonna have a bikeway, not every street is gonna have the sidewalk, so I think it's important for you, if you wanna be familiar with what the network is, you can see it up there. 2027, we have North Avenue reclamation up by the hospital. That's the only programmed street project for that year. 2028, there's a lot going on in here. This is a busy year. Don't know if Mark T.I. with MnDOT, he was gonna be here tonight. I'm not sure if he was, but on August 20th, the MnDOT has not sent out their press release, but they're gonna hold a meeting on Highway 19 improvements. So they're starting from the interstate to Decker is going to be an overlay in 2026 next year. And then they're doing a regrade of Highway 19 from Decker to the railroad tracks. And then there's a known overlay from the railroad tracks to the signal at Highway 3. There's going to be a roundabout at the intersection of Armstrong Road and Highway 19. So we also have with that project, they received a federal grant for that project. There'll be a trail built on the north side. With that project, there'll be, I think when we get to that meeting on August 20th, they'll have more detailed rollouts and plans on our website too. We do have their recommended final plan for Highway 19. A few other projects that are also programmed in 2028. Possibly, if the turnback and everything comes through, would be trying to coordinate the work for the 246 turnback and getting that. That would be a reconstruction, so that is an area where we have condition of utilities that are not in great shape. We have lead water services in that area, so that would be a full street reconstruction. We have a reclaim on Archibald, along with the sidewalk proposed to be installed on Archibald. There's there's existing two-way bikeways on 4th Street and Heritage Drive that are in the plan right now to add the bike protection in 2028. In addition, Dennis Luby is here with Rice County. I think we're in 2028. there's a planned reconstruction of County Road 78 all the way down from Dundas. And then the ownership change, it's a city segment. You can see where the curb and gutter starts, and that'd be an overlay in 2028. So I think we're looking at, one, making sure the timing for MnDOT is still on schedule for 2028 and nothing changes with their funding, or we maybe would, just from a traffic perspective, the County 78 may move back to 2029. I think Dennis and I have discussed that along with the state, so we're just wanting to make sure we understand the state schedule and that it's not moving. In 2029, we have an overlay on Eves Avenue. We have a mill and overlay on Water Street, just south of 5th Street, kind of by the Just Food Co-op. In there, we had these yellow dots are crossing improvements. The exact improvement has not been identified yet, but there was an area that was identified to improve pedestrian crossings. We have the reclaim of Jefferson Drive and Jefferson Lane, along with the sidewalk on Jefferson Drive. Spring Creek Road reclamation between Woodley and Wall Street is also planned for 2029. We have Greenville Avenue, mill and overlay. Here we have Spring Street along with the crossing improvement, a bikeway improvement along this corridor. It's on our bikeway network. We have overlays on Jefferson Road, that kind of right along Highway 3. Then we also have mill and overlays planned along Kester Court, Presidential Drive, just west of the high school. We do have a sidewalk planned on Presidential also. Bridge Square, there was an original plan that was done in 2014. Over the last few years, we updated that plan. We've got a final concept. We have full plans and specs. The project is ready to go based on funding availability. So right now it's currently in 2030. So funding has not been set aside for this project, but it's out there. And we have a full plan and a concept and a full set of plans to get this project built. With that, we're going to conclude the presentation and then we're going to move out into the cafeteria. I want to thank everybody for coming this evening, and then staff will be up there to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.